Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 25th of July 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Thursday's morning session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, some of the charts that we looked at yesterday as well. So, yep, as always, before we do that, before we jump into the charts, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimers. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so also just a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos. We do videos in different languages, so yep, feel free to check us out. Also, a quick mentioning of our JFD Bank webpage and specifically the JFD research page, where you can go in and have a look at also different analysis that we do on a daily basis, and I believe you can find them useful. So, but for now, let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the DXY. Now, I looked at this one this week, and basically, we have, after having a nice break here through this downside line here, it traveled higher. It tested out our, or should I say, my target here perfectly, the 97.7780 zone. This one right here, it tested that perfectly, and then it slid back down. Now, I was kind of expecting maybe a slightly bigger correction, but I mean, still, the initially I was saying that this was the 97.60 level. That's the level that we're going to be targeting for a correction. It did overshoot it a little bit, and now, as you can see, it traveled back up. So in a way, this arrow here, I'll just move it a little bit further for now. What we can see here is, let me just adjust this here. There we go. So the index found good support near the 97.57 zone, approximately around there, from which you kind of rebounded and push higher. The only thing is that the big question here, will it actually continue drifting further north or not? But for now, we're going to be very careful and cautious, because we need to see this good break here above this 97.80 zone before kind of aiming for higher levels. And to be honest, I mean, I do have my arrow drawn here up until the 98.28 zone. Yes, it could be a fantastic level to be reached, but in probably we may see the index stalling somewhere around here, maybe. And looking at today's pivots, in a way, there could be a possibility of seeing maybe a test of the R2, which is around the 97.93, 94 zone, something like that, and then it might correct back down again. So for now, of course, the kind of the more important target for us is this one, the 98.28, but that's probably something more maybe from the near-term perspective. From the very short-term perspective, if we get a break above the 97.80, it increases the chances for this one to try to move towards the R2, today's R2, which is around the 97.93, 94 level, and of course, not far from there, we do have the nice, beautiful 98 level, so which also could get tested. So in a way, we could see a small maybe overshoot here above the R2, test the 98 zone, and then quickly retrace back down. So something like this could be possible. So that's why, guys, for now, be very careful with this one, because, like I said, it is kind of looking quite overbought on the shorter time frames. So but then again, like I said, it could continue traveling higher, but before we could examine higher levels, we need to see that could break above the 97.80. In terms of the downside, from the short term perspective, if we see a drop below the yesterday's lows near the 97.57, you could in a way target the the area here near the 97.4445 zone, which is near the highs of the 17th of July, and then we could see maybe a test of this downside line here, this previous downside line. So it's a bit of a tentative one, but nevertheless I'm still keeping an eye on it, because if we see a drop below this and we see a drop below the 97.2625 zone, now this is where it could become a little bit more interesting for the sellers, as we could see further declines here. So for now, the main thing is to watch for today, especially, for example, and by the end of this week, keep an eye on the 97.80 on the upside and the 97.57 on the downside. Jumping into one interesting pair, which probably you should keep an eye on today, because we do have the Turkish Central Bank announcing the interest rates, and looking at the USD Turkish lira here, you can see that the pair is trading now slightly below this downside resistance line. It has been running here from around the beginning of May, so around from the 9th of May. This downside line kind of continues to hold the rate down, and for now we're going to keep a close eye on it, because basically, I mean, we do have an expectation of a cut on a 1-week repo rate in Turkey. So that's why, in a way, if we do get a cut here, then I mean, this could in a way push this could we in a way, for now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna wait for a potential break here. Now we're not gonna over speculate on this one too much. I mean, in a way, it could hold. If this downside line continues to hold, we may see a drop lower here, especially if the rate slides below this little level right here near the 5.69 zone. If we see a drop below this, then yep, we could consider a further decline. The only thing is, we will consider that decline only up until this tentative upside line here, which also could come into play nicely. But if this gets a nice push through this downside line, and if we see a clear move above the yesterday's high, which was near, let me just put in there, a level here near the 5.7395 zone, something like that, approximately there. This would also place the rate above the 200 EMA here in the 4-hour chart, and we could see a nice push higher, maybe even aiming for the 5.7860. So keep your eyes on this one. This was a nice good area of resistance back here, in the beginning of July, so around the 8th of July. So this is what we're going to be targeting initially, and then we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do. If he wants to continue pushing higher, then yep, that's good news for the bulls, and we could aim for maybe for the area around here. Let me just, oh, there we go, around the 5.83 zone, something like that, approximately around there. So that's why, guys, for now, like I said, we're not gonna guess here. We're gonna see how the news, how this is going to react to the news, and which way is it going to break. If it's going to break to the through the lower side here, through the 5.69 zone, then yep, we'll aim for lower levels. But if it breaks through the 5.7395, or in a way you could round it up towards the 5.74 level, this is where we will aim for slightly higher levels. AUDUSD, very quick update on this one. So I've looked at this pair yesterday, and basically initially I was thinking that it might actually maybe retrace all the way here to the downside resistance line before kind of targeting this this upside support line. So but as you can see, the 200 EMA actually was the more stronger one. I've also mentioned this scenario where if the 200 EMA holds, we could see this one sliding earlier, and we could see this one testing this upside support line. Now the big question here is, what is it going to do after this? So for now, of course, until this line is broken, or should I say, as long as it remains intact, we will we will kind of aim for maybe a correction here, maybe a push back up. But the only thing is that, to be honest, the Aussie is slightly more on the weaker side. So so in a way, we could actually see even this one getting broken. And if we do see a break below the upside support line, and especially if we do see a drop below the 0.6953 zone, now this is where it could become very exciting for the bears, as we could see further declines. Maybe at some point here we could see that reversal back to the upside. So that's why initially, if we see a drop, let's say below the upside support line and a drop below the 0.6953, keep your eyes on this level first, the 0.6940. Like I said, we may see maybe a small rebound from here, maybe a push back up, test this upside support line from underneath, and then maybe drift higher, or sorry, drift lower if it struggles to push back above this line. So that's why for now, from the very short-term perspective, something like this could be possible, where, like I said, we could see a break here, drop lower, and then maybe a test of this little area, and then maybe a reversal, like I said, and a test of this upside support line from underneath, and then we'll take it from there, like I said. But that's of course in the scenario if we see a break here. But if we don't see a break here, if we see a nice good rebound from this line and a push back up, still for us this little territory is going to be somewhat of a neutral one, because we're going to continue observing this level here, the 0.6992. The next potential target for us could be around here somewhere. There we go. So near the 0.7013. So, but in general, in order to kind of aim for higher levels here, we would like to see a break of this downside line, and only then we will aim for maybe slightly higher levels. So for now, keep your eyes on this, guys. So let me just quickly put an arrow here. So basically for the upside, we need to see that initial break of this downside line and a push above the 0.6992 level, and also at the same time it would place the pair back above the 200 EMA, which could be seen as something as a positive. So keep your eyes on this one. EURCAD, very quickly on this one, quick update on the EURCAD. I mean, yesterday I talked about this as well, and basically I was saying that we need to see a good drop below the 1.4629 before kind of aiming lower. So for now we are seeing that move lower. The only thing is that it seems to be holding on here a little bit. So in a way, what we could do actually is shift our breaking point below this level right here, below the 1.46 zone. So in a way, nice, good, beautiful number of 1.46 could in a way act as that breaking point, which could lead the pair towards further decline. So for now, keep your eyes on this activity here. Also, don't forget that we do have the big ECB the ECB meeting here today. Also, the interest rate decision. So and we'll have the Mario Draghi press conference after the interest rate announcement. So that's why, guys, we could see some volatility here. For now, be very careful with this one. I always have your stop loss in place. So if we see a drop below the 1.46 level, then yep, we will aim for slightly lower areas like the 1.45, 52, 53 zone, something like this. But if this rebounds and pushes back up here and pushes above this little area right here, let me just quickly put this on the chart, and that's around the 1.4652. If it makes some push above this, then we could see this one maybe correcting further up here towards the 1.4716 or even 1.4734. But to be honest, in order to kind of aim for higher levels in the near term, ideally we would like to see a push above the 1.4634, and then we'll aim for higher levels. For now, again, from the short-term perspective, if we see a move back above the 1.4652, then yep, this could in a way lead towards slightly higher levels. But again, we'll be very cautious here still, as this could in a way hold the rate down, and then we could see this one kind of continuing to range here between these two levels. So long story short, guys, for now, basically, be very careful. Probably keep your eyes on the news that are coming out, and probably do a more of a reactive trading. Don't try to predict where it's going to move here. So EURGBP, quite interesting. Yesterday I talked about this, and I kept talking about this one for the whole week, to be honest. I mean, because this one had a nice break yesterday, and it finally broke to the downside. I mean, I talked about this idea previously, and actually I've made a call here on our JFD research account here on TradingView, and that was before kind of it kind of broke it, before even actually traveled to the downside here. So you can see this is kind of worked out nicely. So I told you to kind of wait here and wait. We needed that confirmation break below the 0.8955, which we got yesterday, and it drifted lower and tested one of our initial targets near the 0.8916, but actually the pair drifted even lower and tested the 0.8905. Now I mean, this is a good sign for the bears, of course. The only thing is that, as you can see now, and let me just remove this a little bit, you can see now that the pair is trying to kind of make its way back up here. I mean, of course, this is kind of in line with all the corrections and everything. So for now, we are considering the fact that there could be a correction back to the upside here, and this is what it's doing right now. But the only thing is that we're going to be very careful near the pivot initially, which is around the 0.8933, but then the last kind of resort would be around the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, because it could travel higher, test the 200 EMA, and then maybe drift back down. So, but like I said, initially we will target the pivot, so we'll see how it performs around there. If the pair suddenly moves back all the way above the 0.8955 level, now this is where it could become a little bit more careful. We should be more careful, because in a way maybe it would show that the bulls are not willing to kind of give up yet, and we could see this one drifting a little bit higher. The only thing is that, and let me just get rid of this drawing here, the only thing is that if we see a push above the 0.8955, still there is a last chance for the bears to step in somewhere around here near this downside resistance line here, and if even that fails, now this is where it could turn out to be ugly for the bears, and more bulls could start joining in here and pushing this one higher. So that's why we're very careful. That's of course in the scenario if we see a push back above the 0.8955, but for now, I mean, we're slightly far away from there. And the most important here is the pivot, which is around the 0.8933 or the 200 EMA. If these two hold, then yep, we could see another slide. If we see a drop below the 0.8905, this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could be targeting our good level here, a good area of support near the 0.8870. So keep your eyes on this one. And the last pair for this session, that's EURUSD. Now also the same kind of story with the EURCAD. Be very careful here today. Of course, for now we are still targeting our main level near the around the 1.1110. We are aiming for that level for now, but the only thing is that, like I said, be very careful with the ECB. We may get something that maybe could help the euro to rebound here, push higher, but again, for us, let's say, to get comfortable with the upside here on this as a push back above the 1.1190 initially, then we'll of course be very careful near this upside support line, because it could test it from underneath and then slide back down. But the only thing is that if it pushes above this upside line and pushes above the 1.1225, then this is where could become a little bit more interesting for the buyers, and more of them could be joining in. But if we're looking for something like near term, a push above the 1.1280 zone, that's what could in a way open the path towards higher levels in the near term. For now, from the very short term perspective, for today, for example, like I said, be very careful. If there won't be any movement up until the meeting, I mean, then yep, we could see a pop here to one of the sides, but it would be a little bit difficult to kind of say exactly where it could travel to. For now, it looks quite bearish. Still looks quite bearish, but again, looks like we may get something from the ECB that could help the euro kind of bounce back here and push to the upside. So for now, be very careful, like I said, guys. In terms of the downside, aim for the 1.1110 zone, and if that gets broken, then yep, of course, further declines are possible. Then the 111 level could play out nicely. But if this gets a nice rebound, a push back up, we will aim for the 1.1180 again, 1.1180, 90, and this is where we will keep an eye on the pair and see what it wants to do with these levels. If it wants to break further, then yep, good news for the bulls, maybe, or should I say maybe somewhat good news for the bulls, but and then like I said, we'll take it from there. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching until the end. If you want to join me later on at my traders tea time, as always, that's 13:15 GMT time. We'll have a look at some of these pairs just to see how they've performed, how they've got along, and then yep, we'll take it from there. I hope you have a wonderful trading session today, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.